Tonight, the latest COVID-19 update. And shocking announcement by New Zealand Prime Minister Right Honourable Jacinda Ardern. Whakaalofalahiatu and welcome to the first BCN Bulletin for 2023. I'm Mr. Pavihi. Leading the news tonight, the number of active cases of COVID-19 has come down from over 100 for 3 weeks in a row since the 20th of December last year. But since last Friday, the 13th of January, the numbers quickly dropped to 26 from yesterday's reporting period. Fewer than 4 cases were hospitalised. The community transmission, which started in late November last year, affected the Niue Hospital and the staff numbers at the Health Department. This resulted in the Pacifica medical team from New Zealand sending 2 teams of doctors and nurses to support the hospital. Here's more. As a result of the increasing number of local transmission, the government updated its protocols in late December, removing mandatory isolation for close contacts and stopping contact tracing of cases by the Health Department, essentially calling on the community to take responsibility to keeping themselves and their families safe, while the Health Department focused on managing the positive or active cases. This decision seems to have worked out, with the numbers dropping quickly and the Health Department able to manage the cases, but are still asking that people remain vigilant. BCN News spoke with the Head of Public Health, Griselda Mokoia, and Acting Director of Health, Peter Fetuai, on Tuesday this week about the COVID situation on the island and the assistance provided by PACMAT, or Pacifica Medical Association, from New Zealand.
We're averaging around about sort of 5 to 10 declining on the numbers that we have positive cases. So we're actually in a good space at the moment at the hospital. We've still got the outpatient area sort of closed at the moment, so we're yet to sort of sit down and actually revise that. We had the PACMAT team come through and assist with our staff. That obviously we had staff also who had contracted COVID, and so we had to isolate that. So it's been really good exchanging both ideas in it, and from both sides. The good thing is that a lot of them have already gone through what we've already gone through, so their processes are quite tight, and they've been tried. We've said that several times, and so it's been benefit for us to sort of say, okay, we don't have to sort of do any sort of re-evaluation of anything, any of the processes there. So we've been able to sort of just use what they've come and brought to us, and it's been really good. They've enjoyed their time here. They've sort of seen how multi-diverse the team has to be, the medical team, and what they deal with, because a lot of them specialise in certain fields. So that's been beneficial for them, and likewise too also with the training and the passing of knowledge and different types of medical techniques they use over there.
The Health Department has also updated their COVID-19 dashboard, reporting on the number of infections per village. Of the 14 villages in Niue, only one village, the village of Namukulu, remains COVID-free. Namukulu is the smallest village with fewer than 10 residents, but most of the people are elderly. The largest village of Alofi South has the most active cases detected, followed by Tamagotonga and Vaiea. Peter Fetuai said that despite the drop in numbers, the island is still having to face the challenges, with new variants appearing around the world and even in New Zealand. He said the Health Department will continue to provide the healthcare needs of the island, and as a small community, he's asking that we all have a responsibility to take care of each other.
Given what's happening overseas and all that sort of carry on at the moment, we're optimistic that it will decline, but it will always be there. I think we, at the point where, like New Zealand, we're sort of having to live with it, more or less. It's been pretty hard because we've sort of mentioned this before, is that we've had 2 different type of processes come through. We've had people that have come over here and they said, we don't need to mask, we're doing that over there. So it's pretty hard to try and enforce what we're doing, what they've been doing sort of a year ago, more or less. So, but it's really up to the people here in the community. It's quite small, so you still be safe. Do everything you possibly can to keep yourself safe. Masks and just washing and making sure that you get tested. Make sure you get tested, because we have an aging sort of population too that we have to take care of, and you're around your parents and your grandparents and that who have underlying issues in there. So it's quite important that they make sure that they're safe themselves, because it's pretty hard if they have to come to the hospital and all that sort of stuff. We do our best. The team here works endlessly and tirelessly to make sure that they give as much as they can and over and above. And then, the other thing is that because we all know each other, that's the fine point where they work towards.
Niue's second and fifth Premier, Honourable Mr. Yangimane Young Vivian, was recognised in the New Zealand New Year's Honours List this year to be awarded the Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit for his services to Niue. One other Niuean recognised is Sullivan Luau Paea of Manukau for services to youth. He will be awarded the Member of the New Zealand Order of Merit. I had the privilege to interview the 87-year-old former Premier Young Vivian a few days after the announcement of the New Year's Honours List. Honourable Young Vivian is only the second Niuean and the second Premier after late Honourable Frank Whakosi Manawa-Lui to be awarded this recognition for services to Niue. The charismatic former Premier told BCN News how grateful he is to New Zealand for this award. What are your thoughts?
I'm very, very thankful and grateful for New Zealand. It is not for me, but for Niue. And I think the recognition is well received by me and my family and my village and my country.
Premier Dalton Tagelangi told BCN News that he is pleased with the award, but he said that a knighthood would have been nice to recognise and pay tribute to the only surviving member of the architects of Niue's constitution.
Yeah, knighthood would be nice. I mean, to show our utmost respect and thank you to someone that the things we enjoyed today. It's all from how we became independent, and all these are all part and parcel of the work that he's part of. So I think it's sad it took this long, but anyway, I'm happy with that he's been recognised in such a way, and I'm very pleased, and I'm sure everyone else does as well.
Former Premier Young Vivian and Niue's first Premier Robert Ricks Sr. went to the United Nations in New York in the 1970s to deliver the choice or the decision of the people of Niue to become a self-governing state in free association with New Zealand. Young Vivian was one of the first scholars sent from Niue to be educated in New Zealand, groomed to become Niue's first leaders. He was a teacher, a politician who served the Niue Whanokepule for 46 years until his retirement in 2017. He is also a strong pillar of the community of Hakupu and also in the church and in village affairs.
That if you involve yourself in all these things, you begin to understand the Niuean people. You begin to love the way how we came out of it, how very strong we were, how we contributed to the First World War. All that should be passed on to our children. The spirit of it all should be passed on to our children to make them strong, to make them better people in this world, to contribute to the world. We owe it to the world. We owe it to God.
One of his passions is the promotion of the Wangahau Niue. He famously coined the phrase, "Kua alo mai tua e Wangahau Niue," meaning the Wangahau is waving goodbye. This has been his challenge to the young people, encouraging the young generation to use and preserve the Wangahau Niue, a challenge he is still asking of young Niueans today about their identity.
We lose the Wangahau. We lose our nation. We lose our culture. We lose who we are, and we lose part of our very strength. And that's who we are. Language is a very, very important part of the culture. So in the homes, we must use the language. But even in my home, we are using the English language and foreign languages. And mainly because there are very few Niueans here. And the last count, I believe, that we are only 2,000 something Niueans, eh? But in New Zealand and Australia, over 30,000. And that is serious. And I think you young people have a very serious work to do. And I think you need to think very, very deeply into your heart. Who are you?
He paid tribute to his late wife, Vaitufuola, who passed away in 2004, and to his parents, who raised him to be one of Niue's distinguished leaders. Since the announcement of his award, families and friends have been visiting him to extend their congratulations to a man well regarded as one of the best orators of Niue. BCN News understands the awards ceremony is expected to take place in April in New Zealand, but it is not yet certain if Honourable Young Vivian will be travelling to accept the award. For now, he is enjoying his retirement, spending time in the garden, visiting the graves of his parents and his dear wife. And it was a privilege and an honour to interview the former Premier. Congratulations again, Honourable Young Vivian. And to other news, New Zealand's Prime Minister, Right Honourable Jacinda Ardern, yesterday dropped a bombshell by announcing her decision to step down in a few weeks' time as the Prime Minister of New Zealand. The announcement shocked New Zealanders and felt deeply here in Niue, a realm nation of New Zealand, with Premier Dalton Tagilangi, Minister Mona Ainu and Olaf Jacobson paying tribute to Jacinda Ardern, arguably the most famous New Zealand Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's announcement before the press corps at their usual press briefing at Parliament House shocked the world. Ardern said that after nearly 6 years in the role, she felt it was time for her to leave. She said there was no secret scandal behind her resignation. Prime Minister Ardern said she is human and that they give as much as they can for as long as they can, and then it is time. And for her, it is time. Since the announcement, thousands of people around the world are paying tribute to New Zealand's youngest Prime Minister. Here in Niue this afternoon, a statement from Premier of Niue, Honourable Dalton Tagilangi, whakauela he mahaki to Prime Minister Ardern for her leadership and service to the people of Aotearoa, Niue and our Pacific. On behalf of the people of Niue, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the support and assistance Niue received from Aotearoa, New Zealand during her 5 years of leadership. She leaves a legacy of true leadership, strength, compassion and grace through multiple historic crises during her term. Honourable Olaf Jacobson said she will be remembered as a leader who connects well with people from all walks of life. She connects well with people. She personified empathy as a leader. A young person, a young woman leading a country is impressive. It sets her as a wonderful role model for women because she leads with integrity for her people and not for personal gains. And from Honourable Mona Esa Ainu, the Minister for Natural Resources, she says, I extend my deepest appreciation and whakauela he mahaki to Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern for her compassion to support Niue, and I hope the next Prime Minister of New Zealand will have the same consideration. She will definitely be missed within the circle of women parliamentarians. Former Common Role member of the Whanokepule, Ponikapanga, passed away at his home at Tuapa Uhomotu this morning. He was 76 years old. Ponikapanga served in the 8th and 9th Assembly, elected to the Common Role in 1993 and again in 1996, serving 6 years. His funeral service was held at the Apostolic Church this afternoon, where he served as pastor for many years.
Before entering the political arena, Ponikapanga was a public servant working more 14 years of the Niue government. He was also a businessman running a bus company for many years, a business he has passed on to one of his children. From January 2009 to July 2014, he was the chairperson of the Public Service Commission. One of his colleagues in the Whanokepule, Olaf Jacobson, told BCN News that she worked with Ponikapanga in the Bills Committee and she recalls fondly those times. Jacobson extended her condolences to Mrs. Lili Kapanga and the Kapanga family. Mr. Kapanga is survived by his wife Lili, their 6 children, many grandchildren and the extended family.
BCN News extend our condolences to Mrs. Lili Kapanga and your children. And the 17th Legislative Assembly is expected to be dissolved in the next few weeks, although there has not been a confirmed date set for the general election this year. Premier Dalton Tagilangi told BCN News that he is still set to seek to dissolve the House 2 years and 9 months, but he is also mindful of other community events taking place in the first quarter of this year. Here's more. Premier Dalton Tagilangi last year told BCN News his preference to hold the general elections in either March or April this year is still the same, but he has still not yet decided on a date. He is also taking into account the community events being planned for the first quarter of this year.
The assembly meeting, so we might call an early assembly a meeting, even though the speaker is away, but I can still call a meeting of that.
Premier Tagilangi explained that even though the first meeting of the Whanake Pule was planned for the 8th of February, he would like to call an earlier meeting to discuss some key reports to be debated in the whānau.
The assembly meeting, so we might call an early assembly a meeting, even though the speaker is away, but I can still call a meeting of that.
The last general elections was held on the 30th of May 2020. The newly appointed governing group of the Ekalesia Niue, known as the Komisi Whakatonu, was officially announced at the National Prayer Day on Wednesday during Prayer Week. The event is to welcome in the new President, Reverend Nevi Salatielu, and to farewell former President, Reverend Nuka Tauivihi. Here's Sana Sioniholo with more.
The new president of the Ekalesia Niue is Reverend Nevi Salatielu. The vice president is Reverend Holotafea. Secretary of the Ekalesia is Reverend Kennedy Tutama. Treasurer is Reverend Scanlan Misiepo. The representatives of the head deacons is Head Deacon Billy Graham Talangi. And the two representatives of the group of deacons from all 14 Ekalesias are Hetutu Tama Hetutu and Sioneheke Leolahi.
And the village of Liku has started a major project to re-roof and renovate their church and village hall building this week. Over the years, the structure has endured 4 decades of harsh weather conditions, including several cyclones. Recently, the members of the community and the church have noticed the leaking was getting worse and decided to start the process of raising funds to begin the re-roofing project. Here's Sana with more.
Liku Church Deacon Sionetasi Pulhetoa, who is also the chairperson of the village council, told PCN News that the building was built in 1980 and the roofing was installed a few years later before the church and the village hall was officially opened in 1985. Mr. Pulhetoa said their families contributed by selling fundraising raffles to help with the project, but the major cost of building materials was provided by the government. The cost of the roofing materials and other materials would be paid from the government grant of $50,000 and $5,000 contribution from the Ekalesia Liku. Tasi Pulhetoa said that the village and the Ekalesia are looking forward to the completion of the project, which will also see the upgrade to the lighting of both the church and the hall. The Ekalesia is planning to install a plaque with the names of the pastors who serve the Liku village, a project they also want to officially launch along with the blessings of the major renovations of the church and village hall at the end of this year. The building contractor for the project is Mil Tanu's Southwest Constructions, but it's very much a community project, with other builders from Avasele joining in to lend a hand.
A special charter flight from Tonga flew in on Monday this week to transport the Niue Darts team to the 3rd Pacific Darts Championships being held in Nuku'alofa this week. On the same flight from Tonga was the Tonga golf team, here to compete in a 3-day 54-hole tournament with Niue's golf team. Here's more on that story.
Niue Darts, led by President of the Niue Darts Association, Demstar Tomailunga, have done quite well in their competitions. The men's team are Santuan Talangi, Tom Kupatahenga, Eugene Mautama, Stewie Mautama, Floyd William Wenlofuli Tahenga. The women's team are Deborah Akeimo, Palahemoka Kalauni, Suafane Touna, Judy Seomanu, Narita Williamu Tahenga, Nise Ioane, Seini Wakanofisi, Tifi Tomailunga, and Linda Tomailunga. In the men's competitions at the 3rd Pacific Darts Championships, teams are from Tonga, Niue, Cook Island, Solomon Island, Fiji and Vanuatu. 4 island nations will compete in the women's competition, including Tonga, Niue, Cook Islands and Vanuatu. According to the competition organisers, as of yesterday's results, Niue team is leading the women's competition, having played 2 games, winning both of them. Meanwhile, the Niue men's team is currently in 3rd placing, having played 3 games, won 1 game and lost 2 games. Fans can watch Team Niue games live on their social media Facebook page. Aside from the Niue darts team, the flight was filled with supporters, many of whom welcomed the opportunity to visit their families and relatives in Tonga. Simone Tungia from Makefu was very happy to support Team Niue and visit his homeland. The last time he was in Tonga was 8 years ago. Darts is the fastest growing sport in Niue, with regular competitions on the island. The group of supporters welcomed the opportunity to visit their relatives in Tonga and said that it would be wonderful if there was a regular air service link between Niue and our closest neighbour, the Kingdom of Tonga. The Niue Darts team and their supporters will return to Niue on Monday next week, and the Tonga golf team will return home.
And staying with golf, a group of golfers from Tonga flew in on Monday to play the golf tournament at the Niue Golf and Sports Club. And BCN News understands the Niue golf team will be playing at the Tonga Tapu Golf Course in March next year.
The team from Tonga decided to take part in the Niue tradition of Takai yesterday before their tournament today. The 3-day tournament started today and will run until Saturday. The team will have a break on Sunday before returning to Tonga on Monday next week. The Niue golf team is expected to fly to Tonga for a tournament in March this year.
And from last year, as the year came to an end, the villagers on the western side of the island noticed the return of the seasonal goatfish, or kaloama. The small fish is only seen around this time of the year after rough seas. This is serious for some local fishing communities, with families taking to their traditional fishing spots to feed the fish so that it will stay. Here's Sana Sionehola with more.
Unlike other countries where fishing nets will be used, in Niue, where traditional conservative fishing methods are maintained, people stand using a small fishing rod to fish for kaloama. Last week, the Village Council of Awasele, Tamakotonga, Makefu and Mukulu have announced their sea tracks are closed because of the kaloama fishing season. Signs have been put up at these sea tracks informing that there will be no swimming at these tracks during the kaloama fishing season. At Awasele last week, people including little children lined the beach and the ramp, taking part in this tradition and listening to the rules of kaloama fishing. It is not sure how long the fish will stay, but for now, families are enjoying the experience of fishing and eating the kaloama. Many like it deep fried or raw.
And to end our news bulletin tonight, the beginning of every year is the time of Takai, a time of celebration and welcoming in of the new year. This is done by driving around the island in vehicles decorated with flags and balloons, playing loud music while others watch, dance and wait to collect the goodies from the Takai. Here are some of the highlights from the Takai 2023. And that's our Bulletin of BCN News for tonight. Do join us again on Tuesday next week for more of our BCN News in Wangahau Niue. Until then, you have a lovely weekend. Muruine po, nonofoa.